Hello Flosstube, my name is Anne and welcome to a Tobyknits Flosstube episode 38. If you are new to my channel, go and get a cup of tea and sit down because today it's all about the cross stitch. Fridays is quilty fun and Mondays is knitting. So you have a choice, you can watch all of them or just one of them. But whatever you do, like and subscribe and tell your mates. Anyway, it's cross stitch today. My husband is out and about in the garage. He's either sawing something or he's on the tractor somewhere doing something, but you may occasionally hear some weird noises. It's him. Just so you know. He may also barge in unaware that I'm recording and, you may hear something. So that's life. That's life in our household when he's off. Anyway, oh my goodness. I have a finished object to show you. I have 3 works in progress to show you and a question, which I am really thrilled somebody thought to ask a question. And the lovely lady was Dolinda. So thank you so much for asking this question. And she actually had a bunch of questions all on the one post about what kind of cloth I used, what I preferred, what kind of, did I use a hoop or a frame, or what did I prefer to stitch with, and what kind of floss did I use. So I thought I would answer all of those as we were going with each of my projects. So Dolinda, are you ready, girl? Get comfy because I'm answering all your questions today. So let's start with my finished object. I mean, yes, it's a finished object and you probably saw it months and months and months ago because that's how long ago I finished it. But I actually fully finished it. Oh, does that look like something else? Yes, this was from the cross, oh God, I nearly said the cross stitch cupboard then. Jeez, that was like a shop in Ottawa years ago. And in fact, I actually worked there for a little while when my boys were little and we still lived in Ottawa. And I think it was my favorite place ever. I mean, who the heck would not want to work in a cross stitch shop? And that's where I learned the most about various cuts of fabric for cross stitch other than just plain Aida. And anyway, but no, it's got nothing to do with that because they've now since closed. But this was a stitch along and quilt along with the Fat Quarter Shop last year. And we made the quilt and then there was the cross stitch that went along with it each week. So this is it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I loved it so much. And it's just been sitting around. I have got so many things finished and just sitting in a drawer that I have not fully finished. And I thought it was time I fully finished this one. And I wanted to show you this for a particular reason. In that I'm old school and I don't do all the crazy glue gunning that everybody seems to do these days with their cross stitch pieces. I'll show you what I do with this. This is a frame I got at Michael's and I'm gonna pop this out because I don't put glass in front of my finished cross stitch pieces either. So this is it, and I use a foam core board that I stretch it across and I pin my piece. I stretch and pin on all the sides and the pin goes into the foam core that's on this side. And then when I've got it all over and stretched, I just washi tape it down because it's not going to move. And then I actually put my initials and the date there. Normally I will initial the actual piece of work and put it on, but I couldn't find a spot on here I like because I didn't want to put it underneath because then it offsets the size of the square, because I think this finished at 6 inches or something, and or 7 inches, and it couldn't go inside because you've got all these lovely little things here. So that's how I finished it, and then I just pop it into this frame, and then it just sits with this little sitter thing on my unit in the front with all the other Halloween items. So that was my fully finished from last year. And the reason I did finish it was I actually finally went out and bought some foam core board so that I could start finishing them. And now I have to make sure I measure all the rest of my finished pieces to decide what kind of a frame I wanted this in. And this, I believe, is an 8x8 square, and it's unusual to get a square frame, I find anyway. So anyway, that was what that one was. That was a funny feel. Oh, and this was stitched on 14 count Aida, and it was like a, I can't remember the color name of it. It wasn't a white, it was oh, I forget. I'm not doing very good with my memory today. Anyway, whatever it was, that's what it was. So anyway, yes. So with regard to the type of fabric that I like working on, because I was out of cross stitch for so long, like I stitched from when I was 17 right the way through until I was about 45, 50. And then I stopped cross stitching because I couldn't see very well. I needed my glasses for long distance, but not for reading. And at the time when, you know, I could easily see my cross stitch, I would actually look under my glasses at it because then I'd look up to see the TV, and I needed them for the TV. And but I didn't need them for close up until I turned about 45, 50, and then I started getting, I was having a hard time seeing, and I didn't want to use a magnifier because that really made me feel old. So I wound up, I stopped stitching. And one of the things that I had been stitching on at that time, and I'm pretty sure it was Delinda who asked me about this, was this piece. I had started this, that's what it looks like when it's finished. I had started this about 20 odd years ago, and I got down to the top of the angel heads, and then since I've picked up cross stitch again, that's where I've got to on it. And this is on a linen that I had bought at the cross stitch cupboard, so you can tell how long ago it was. And this is a 32 count linen, and I actually love working on linen. I love the feel of it. I don't find it difficult to see the thread or the holes where you would go, because they're not as pronounced as Aida for sure, but I can still see that when I'm stitching, especially when you've already got a couple of stitches in. It really is easier than you think to stitch on linen. Now, I don't like using a hoop on linen unless it's wooden. I won't use a plastic hoop, but I much prefer a scroll frame, which is what this is. And you can just use this in your hand if you like and cradle it like a cat or a baby. But I have it on this thing, which is a lap stand. So it sits in front of me on my lap on the couch, so I can stitch this. And this actually has been put away for the past month because I've been so busy with other things, but I will be getting this back out shortly. It's usually my Wednesday stitch. So when I'm working on another linen, which for example is this one that I've been doing, which is the free Christmas time mystery stitch along from the Fat Quarter Shop. And this one, in the last week, I've managed to fill in the presents and start the cup. And this is going to be a card here. So it's actually going to look like this when it's finished. I would have finished more of the cup, but I ran out of the thread. I have it now. But while I was waiting for the thread, I started over here and on the bottom of the cup. So this one is a linen, and this is a 28 count linen, which equals 14 count Aida, which is what I think this called for. But as I say, I prefer the linen. Again, I see it better. I really enjoy it. And then the hoop I'm using for this, because this is too small to go in the scroll frame. And I don't have a scroll that small. I think you can get them, I just don't have one. So I use this, which is a wooden hoop, because it doesn't stretch the fabric. It still holds it nice and taut enough for me to stitch with, but it doesn't stretch. I'll put it on so that you can see what I mean. So it's still nice and taut enough for me to stitch and easy for me to hold in this hand while I'm stitching. And I do prefer the smaller hoop because in all honesty, I normally stitch about 2 or 3 hours in an evening. And I mean, you're not going that far. You know, like I said, this cup and the book took me an evening, and this little part here filling in all this took me another evening. So it's not like I'm going all over the actual piece of fabric. So you're just stitching in one small area. So that's what I do. So that was this one. This has been the Wednesday that I've been doing instead of the Christmas one, the big Christmas one. So that's coming along nice. And then when I do use an Aida, which is what Fall on the Farm is. So Fall on the Farm is the Aida. Oh, sorry, this is the one I'm working on. So I managed to get done the house. I still have the back stitch to do on the house. And then the little Mukau. Look at him, he's so cute. When I'm using an Aida cloth, then I will use one of my plastic hoops. This one is an 8-inch and this one is a 7-inch. They're different colors and they actually do have the number on them so I can tell. But because they're different colors, I know which one's which. And typically I will use this one. I think I use this one because it will completely cover that block. And that's all I'm working on. And so that's the part I need. This is actually a 16 count linen, which is the same as a 28 count Aida linen. This is it's not a linen, it's an Aida cloth. It's a 16 count Aida cloth, and this is beautiful beige. So yeah, this is the Fall on the Farm, and I really do like this a lot. I'm way behind in it. It started back in January. And each month we got a new block, and but I don't mind. This is just my Friday night. Now, I have just ordered the Christmas one because they're houses, and I love houses. And I think we can do it similar to this, but I think it goes long ways. I think it's a long, thin one. I'll leave a link to that. Fat Quarter Shop, you're driving me mad. But I do really like this, and I think this is going to look fabulous when it's finished. The colors are gorgeous, but you know, it's never going to get finished in time, and that's fine. I don't mind. And then the other one that I'm working on, again, that's a linen, an Aida cloth. Are you keeping up with me, Linda? Is this one, which is the birth announcement for Tristan. And even though he's nearly 3, well, he's 2.5. This is the one I've been working on. This was a kit that I bought. And of course, the kits primarily come with Aida because it's cheaper. And so it came in, it was the right size, and I decided to just go with it. So it's actually quite nice to work with. It's very soft, this one. Some Aidas are really hard. I think this might be a Swigart. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a Swigart Aida, and I find that much softer than some of the other. I think the Charles Craft and something else. I think they're a bit stiffer. So I just started on here with the giraffe, And then once we get the giraffe done, I believe I can start doing the back stitch. And y'all know by now, I love the back stitch because it makes them all come alive. Isn't this so cutest though? It really is. And in some instances, the colors are all very similar to each other, but it still is a lovely stitch. So this again, I was using one of my hoops, whichever one I want. Now I do have a Q-snap. And the only problem with the Q-snap, and I think this is an 8-inch or it could be a 6-inch, is Toby doesn't like it because as soon as I start pulling these off, he runs away. I don't know if it's the noise of them coming off or the noise of me clicking them on, but he runs away whenever he hears these. My hand hurts holding it. I don't know why. I do have osteoarthritis in this one thumb, primarily right in here. And when I'm holding this in my hand, I don't know if it's because it's so thick versus a hoop or what it is, but this hurts my hand after a while. So I don't use it as much anymore. I used to, but I don't use it as much anymore at all now. And then the other thing that she asked me was about floss. I have 2 large containers full of DMC floss, and I'm sure there's some colors in there that have now long since been discontinued. I don't even know if they actually ever do discontinue a color, but maybe they just stop producing it. But I have got 2 huge containers and a box full of like duplicates, as you might call them. And so I will never change from DMC. I like DMC. I love the vividness of all their colors. They are cheaper. All these hand-dyed flosses are very pretty. And the amount of work that goes into doing them, I'm sure is extreme, but I don't stitch one stitch at a time unless I'm just outlining a shape. Most of the time I stitch all one way and then I come all the way back. And that doesn't work, I don't think, when you use hand-dyed floss. I believe with that you have to do 1 X at a time in order to get the color change to show. And again, I don't like the color change. Like, for example, this original one here is stitched using Classic Colorworks, which is hand-dyed. And you can see in some of the instances the color, like this going around is all actually one color. And you might be able to see some changes in the house here, in the barn. Again, and I don't like that. I don't like that it does that. I much prefer the vivid colors in my barn. I think my barn stands out and looks great compared to this one. So I much prefer DMC because it's cheaper and I like the solid, strong color that you get. And I will not probably ever use a hand-dyed or anything. Years ago, we used to have Anka. I don't even know whatever happened to Anka thread. Where did it go? But, and so yeah, I just use DMC. So that's all I have for you today. I am super excited to tell you that this weekend is my first ever cross-stitch retreat with my friend Diana. Oh, there are 4 ladies coming to join Diana and I. I have been busy making them things which are definitely connected to cross stitch and will also eventually be going in my Etsy shop. Yes, I'm opening the Etsy shop back up. Probably the first week of November. I have to sort out this retreat this weekend. And once I'm back from that, I will start uploading whatever doesn't go at the retreat, into the Etsy shop. I can't tell you what they are. I can't show you what they are because it's a surprise for the ladies. And yeah, so I'm very excited about that. I will do some taping over the weekend and bring that to you next week so you can see how we got on and what we stitched on. And yeah, so I'm super excited for that. There'll definitely be some fun going on there. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, and I hope you have a fabulous week, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Oh, forgot to tell you, I also designed a cross-stitch chart, and it's a mystery, of course, which comes out in 3 parts, the 28th, the 29th, and 30th. So if you are interested in getting that, let me know. If not, I will produce the whole chart at the end next week. It will go on the Etsy shop, so you can buy it as a completed chart at that point if you want, and then there's no mystery to it. Okay, now I'm really going because I think my husband wants something to eat. Man, eh?